Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another edition of Talking Bullion. Today we're going to talk about the beautiful U.S. coin, the Walking Liberty $50. See, I have some out here. We're going to take a look at the history of it, the beauty of it, the designer of it, and why it is loved so much. This coin is loved by many and hasn't been made for a long, long time. So we know it's very sought after and very valuable to a lot of people. So why don't we go ahead and take a look. Alright, so this is the Walking Liberty $50. It's a 90% silver 50-cent piece. Let's take a little bit of a closer look at one before we get talking about its history. See here, this is a 1944. And almost all of them, unless you pay big bucks for them, will be very worn like this. This is a very common 50-cent piece that you'll pick up as junk silver, called junk. We all know it's not junk, but this is 90% constitutional junk silver, all the same thing. Just a classic American coin. Love the eagle on this coin. The front of it is the same as the American Silver Eagle now. It's the same designer, Adolf Weinman. So yeah, pretty cool, huh? Let's look at this next one down here. It looks to be in a little bit better shape. Let's look at this one. This is a 1945. A little bit better shape. Flip it over. And you can see the eagle a little bit better. So yeah, pretty cool, huh? Let's roll over here. Can you see how much further down? You can't really because of the angle. See how much shorter the stack is? Both have 20 coins in it, but this is my older. I labeled this as my older coins. This is a 1917, and this is a 1918. See it down there? So, wow, over 100 years old, huh? Pretty cool. So let's talk a little bit about this Walking Liberty $50. It was made from 1916 to 1947, and as I mentioned earlier, it was designed by Adolf A. Weinman, a well-known sculptor and engraver. He's the same gentleman that designed the Mercury dime. I recently put out a video on the Mercury dime. If you haven't seen that, I'd suggest you go watch it. It was pretty good. Had some good information about how the Mercury dime came about. People love the Mercury dime just like they do the Walking Liberty $50. Alright, so let's talk a little bit about the history of how this came about. On September 26th of 1890, the United States Congress passed an act providing the Director of Mint shall have power, with the approval of the Secretary of the Treasury, to cause new designs to be prepared and adopted, but no change in the design or die of any coin shall be made oftener than once in 25 years from and including the year of the first adoption of the design. So what they're saying here is this act provided that after 25 years they could change the design of a coin. And before the Walking Liberty $50, there was the barber coinage, which was introduced in 1892. The barbers were dimes, quarter dollars, and $50, with similar designs by the mint engraver Charles E. Barber, which is where they got their name. Beginning in 1905, successive presidential administrations had attempted to bring modern, beautiful designs to the United States coins. Following a redesign of the double eagle, half eagle, and quarter eagle in 1907 and 1908, as well as the cent and nickel redesigns of 1909 and 1913 respectively, advocates of replacing the barber coins began to push for the change when the coin's minimum term expired in 1916. So here we've had all the other coins redesigned in 1907, 1908, and 1909 and 1913, but the dime, quarter, and $50 had not been redesigned. On March 3rd, the new coins were publicly announced, with the Treasury hoping production of the new coins would begin in about 2 months once the designs were finalized. With the new pieces, all American coins would have had recent change of the design, and if we remember at this time, the Morgan dollar was not being struck. Alright, so we have some pretty good history there. They were moving quickly to get some designs put together to release in 1916. At this point, they've selected the designs, they've selected their sculptors. Now they need to get the work going. But before we continue on, let's take a look at some of these beautiful coins. Oh yes, so look at these from the side. Just some beautiful silver. Looks like this one got beat up a little bit. What's going on with this one? Oh, just a little bit of a ding on this side. So let's put some of these things down, take a look at them. Can zoom out here just a little bit. But yeah, how about these things, huh? Are those nice or what? I love the sound of that silver. Let's get out another roll here. Ooh, this one's on 1936. See here, got a little bit of a dark one in there. Just some tarnish. Oh, still a beautiful coin. Alright, so this is $20 face. What that means is $20. If it was cash, if we went to the store, we'd have $20 worth of money here. But as we know in today's world, this is worth a lot more than the $20 that it represents in face value. These are, right now, 2 of these coins are selling for about $21, $22. Usually the Walking Liberties sell for, a little bit more. So you could take these two $half, which is $1 face. You get about $21, $22 for it. So you can see how quickly just a small pile of this great American coinage, just how quickly it can add up in today's silver value. Pretty cool, huh? I love the constitutional silver. This is just so awesome. I love it for a lot of reasons. The history, I love the silver, and I love the design. This has a lot going for it. It has a whole lot going for it. Pretty cool, huh? Take a look at a few more here. Very nice. Alright, let's continue on. So let's talk about the design of this thing. The design of this beautiful coin. I need to get a few of the eagles up. I got all the front obverse. Let's get some of the reverse up here. Alright. The design of the $half bears a full-length figure of liberty. The fold of the stars and stripes flying to the breeze as a background, progressing in full stride towards the dawn of a new day, carrying branches of laurel and oak, symbolical of silver and military glory. So let's take a look at that. So Lady Liberty, the folded stars and stripes flying in the breeze as a background. A little bit harder to see because it's wore down, but it's there. In full stride towards the dawn of a new day. So you can see Liberty's walking, carrying branches of laurel and oak. Alright. And that's symbolic of civil and military glory. So that's what all that means on that coin. It does have meaning. That's what I'm not liking about most of the modern day coins that are coming out. They seem to have really lost their symbolic purpose. And I really like how these old coins really had a purpose behind why they were designed the way they were. The hand of the figure is outstretched in bestowal of the spirit of liberty. The reverse of the $half shows an eagle perched high upon a mountain crag, his wings unfolded, fearless in spirit and conscious of his power. Springing from a rift in the rock and a sapling of mountain pine, symbolic of America. So yeah, this coin was designed with purpose. I really like it a lot. I think it's really cool. So let's take a look at a couple images of a pattern coin for the Walking Liberty. This shows Wyman's design with the large figure of Liberty on the obverse and his original reverse. When Frederick Johannes Hugo von Ingelken took office as mint director on September 1st, 1916, the half-dollar had been approved and pattern coins had been struck. Actual production of the 50-cent piece was delayed as the mint struggled to finalize Wyman's Mercury dime. On September 6th, production of the dime was halted as companies testing the new 10-cent piece found that the new pieces would not work in vending machines. The defect was found to be a fin, which is excess metal at the edge of the coin, making it seem too thick when inserted into machines. The fin could also break off, leaving the silver coins underweight. This problem was found on the pattern half dollars as well. On September 6th, Van Elkingen wrote to Assistant Secretary Melbourne using information that suggested came from Barber. Now I thought this was a pretty cool part of history here. So this is what he said. I'm sending you with this letter 10 of the new dimes and 1 of the new half dollars. If you examine these coins carefully, you will find that they are decidedly imperfect. You will note both on the half dollar and the 10-cent piece a sharp projection of the metal on the edge, which is the fin to which I have referred. You will note also, particularly on the half dollar on account of its size, a variation in thickness of the coin, specifically noticeable at the edge. I went to Philadelphia yesterday to ascertain whether or not this could be overcome, and I find that we are faced with certain mechanical restrictions which make it impossible to produce a coin of uniform thickness of edge, and to obviate the fin edge as long as we maintain high relief of the coin as it is at present. So they were having a lot of problems with this 50-cent piece the way that Wyman initially designed it. It was too high of relief, the Liberty was too big, and it was causing additional metal to be formed around the edge. So let's take a quick look at some finning pictures of some more recent coins, but it still shows what finning is and what kind of problems it can cause. So here we can see a dime with the finning, and here's a cent also with the finning issue. So this was causing big problems for them, both with the dime and with the half dollar, and primarily was causing issues in vending machines. The secretary inquired how long it would take our Mr. Charles Barber to produce new designs. After consultation with officials at the Philadelphia Mint, Van Elkingen replied that it would take 6 to 8 months. The two officials decided that Wyman must be asked to modify his design for the half dollar. It was hoped that if Wyman shrank the figure of the Liberty and lowered the relief, the piece would prove coinable. Wyman arrived at the Mint on September 11th. He left with 2 pattern half dollars and instructions to reduce the size of the figure of Liberty. Barber appealed to Joyce for permission to make changes to Wyman's design, but this was initially refused. So what's going on here? Charles Barber stepping in on Wyman's design and trying to say, hey, look, I can fix it. I can take care of this. Let me have a crack at it. And initially, his request was refused. However, when an additional change by Wyman failed to eliminate the fin problem, Joyce gave in and allowed Charles Barber a free hand. Engraver Barber shrank the design, moving the design further from the edge and creating a wide space between design and rim. Barber insisted that this was the only way to prevent a fin and uneven edge. A beaded border was added within the rim. So what they're doing here is they're taking this Lady Liberty, and she was much bigger on the design that was causing problems and a much higher relief, which means stuck up higher on the coin. So that was causing them problems, causing finning. So what Barber's doing is coming along and shrinking the Liberty and creating more space here, thus fixing the finning problem, he thinks. But he also added a beaded edge all the way around the coin, which we'll talk here in a minute about how it didn't make it to final design. But so he shrunk Lady Liberty and put a beaded edge around the coin. On October 18th, Wyman wrote to Joyce asking how the mint was getting on with the dies for the $50 and dime and expressing his willingness to come to Philadelphia. Joyce replied 2 days later, informing him the design of the $50 is being reduced in size to prevent reoccurrence of the edge difficulties and informing him of the beaded border. Wyman responded hoping that Joyce would prevent the figure of liberty from being unduly reduced and rendering his account. As the sculptor and superintendent corresponded, the mint began work on converting the barber-modified designs to working dies from which circulation coins could be struck. But Joyce interceded before coining could begin. The Philadelphia Mint superintendent, who had support of von Engelken, felt that Barber's modifications were unnecessary. Joyce believed that coins closer to Wyman's concept could be struck by lowering the relief slightly, adjusting the force with which the mint's presses struck the planchets or blanks, and better preparing the planchets for striking. Joyce's position prevailed, and Barber and his department prepared working dies for striking of circulation pieces, omitting Barber's beaded border and wide space between rim and design. Working dies were at Denver and San Francisco mints on November 27th, and production began at all three mints soon after. So there it was. They finally found a way to make this $50, this 50-cent piece, with Wyman's original design, and thus cutting out what Barber had suggested for modifications. And I thought this was a pretty cool part of the story too. So late that December, Wyman, who had received no update from the mint since being told of the Barber modifications, but who had read in the newspapers that the $50 were being struck, sent a $10 money order to Joyce with a request for 20 of the new coins. So here's Wyman buying $10 face, right? Buying himself a tube of $50 and requesting 20 of the new coins. So the guy who designed the coin, spent all that time and effort to get the coin produced, has to mail the money order to buy 20 of the coins for himself. I think that's pretty funny, actually. On January 2nd, 1917, Wyman wrote to Joyce again, telling him the new pieces had been received in time to be given as New Year's gifts, and wishing the superintendent every good wish to you for every day of the new year, and with thanks to the Almighty and yourself, that the beads are not on the border of the $50. So you can see here that Wyman was pretty happy that Barber's modifications did not make it onto the Walking Liberty $50. So we're going to talk about the reception now. How did the public receive the new $50? It's got some interesting points on that too. So although the dime's debut on October 30th, 1916, now we're talking about the Mercury dime, had seen considerable publicity, the mint had little comment on the release of the $50 and Standing Liberty Quarter the following January. There were a few newspaper mentions of the new $50. The United States was moving towards war with Germany, and the dime release had exhausted much of the public interest in the novelty of new coins. Despite the minimal publicity, according to a January 1917 report from mint adjuster Chafin, all three mints initially had trouble keeping up with public demand for the new $50. The New York Times noted on January 3rd that the new pieces had been received by the sub-treasury and would be released to a customer starting on January 9th. It stated that the mint was working hard as possible to keep up with demand, but that initially quantities would be limited. And also, here's an interesting comment about the mint marks. Now, I don't know if I've seen too many of the mint marks should be on the back. Initially, they were on the front. We'll talk about that here momentarily. But here, I'll show you in this picture. Here's a picture of the mint mark right there. All right. So the mint marks had initially been placed on the obverse, the first time that had been done for a regular issue U.S. $50 since 1839. On February 14th, 1917, von Engelken ordered that the mint mark be moved from the obverse to the reverse, stating that the obverse placement had appearance of a die defect. The majority of the 1917 half dollar struck at Denver and San Francisco bear the mint mark on the reverse. So they didn't like the mint mark being on the front. They thought it looked like a die problem. So here's a picture of the mint mark on the front. I don't know, to me it looks like a mint mark, but they apparently didn't like it, and quickly after they started producing the Walking Liberty half dollar, moved the mint mark to the back of the coin. Alright, so some pretty interesting information, some pretty good history, but why don't we take a look at the Red Book and look at some of the dates. I'll zoom back out here a little bit. When I pull these aside, we'll leave the half dollars laying here. We can do that, so we can still see these beauties. But I'm going to get out the Red Book. Let's go to half dollars, so right here. Here's the barbers. These are all in order. Alright, so here we go. Liberty Walking, which I believe really is the official name, not Walking Liberty. Zoom in a little bit so we can see a little bit better. Pull it over. So it goes through, gives you all the information. Again, this is called the Red Book. I have the large print spiral bound. This is a 2020 edition. Spiral's nice because you can open it up and lay it flat. So the official Red Book. Highly recommend this book. If you don't have one, you should have one because you get a lot of great information out of this book. Alright, so again, 1916 to 1947 they were made. So let's go down here and look at some of the mintages. That's kind of what I want to do. So there's no great, low mintage or no great rare dates. You can see here there are some though. In 1916 there's only 608,000 made in Philadelphia. But as we can see here, there's the obverse mint mark and the reverse mint mark. They've got both of those called out here. So not very many on the front you can see in good condition. Actually, the reverse mint mark has a high value. The obverse on the 1917S is worth $5,500 in an MS63 condition, but even in a not so good condition, it still carries a pretty good value. All right, down here you can see there's a million, but look at the 1919D, $13,000 in MS63 condition, even $115 in fine condition. All right, so we talked about the 1921. So let's look at that for a minute. See that here, $7,500, $14,000, but even in G4, which is not very good shape, these things are worth a lot of money. And just like I was talking about with the Mercury Dimes, I have not gone through and looked at my Walking Liberties for the dates. So could I have a 21 in there? I could. Unfortunately, I traded some of these a while back, and I didn't look at them before I did, but oh well. Live and learn, right? So let's continue on. Let's just look at some more of these mintages and some of the dollars over here. All right, so nothing real small. The double die reverse on the 1946, which is right here. That's worth a little bit of money. Here you can see the proofs. They're starting to talk about the proofs here in 1936. Coming down here, the proofs are worth some money for sure. Alright, they didn't call them out. They said they only made a few in 1916, 1917. They're not listed in the book. See nothing about the proofs over here. Alright, so coming down, look at this. Well, 1943, 53 million of them. 1943P, 1943D, 11 million of them. But you can see in good condition, though. You can get some pretty good money for them. Regular condition, circulated condition, like these are. Stuff like this. $9, $10, $11. Right in that area. Alright, so we go up and This is where it ends, 1947. Alright, so not a whole lot. There's nothing like the 1916D Mercury dime. And, you know, it's worth a ton. And even in, you know, G4 condition. I mean, there are some of these early ones that, if you have them, can be worth a little bit of money. But, yeah, pretty much standard stuff on the Walking Liberties. But they are just an absolutely beautiful coin that everybody just loves to have in their collection. Well, that's it for now. Thank you for watching. And always remember, let's keep talking bullion.